Today, we're back in Dover for one of our occasional short histories. And we're looking at Blériot's Channel crossing, and particularly the landing. You might remember if you saw our video on Dover Castle. As you stand on top of the Norman Keep and look over the Roman lighthouse and Anglo-Saxon church, you can see the modern harbour down below. And just on that horizon is Calais. Well, you can easily cross that. It's only about 45 minutes in a boat today. Well, people had long wanted to fly across it, and there had been a balloon crossing or two. But Louis Charles Joseph Blériot, in a plane very much like this is actually one of his slightly later models, which you can see in our RAF Hendon video. But you can see it's little more than a kite with a lawnmower engine and some cycle wheels on. You're a pretty brave sort if you want to cross the channel in this. But Blériot was quite the engineer. He'd actually designed the first practical headlamps for cars. In 1909, he became world famous for making the first airplane flight over the channel and won a prize of £1,000, which today would be about £152,113. Today we're visiting the secluded spot where he landed, right next to Dover Castle. He set off at 4:15 a.m. on the 25th of July in his Type 11. And there was quite a large crowd to see him off. And he flew at about 45 miles an hour, that's 72 kilometres an hour, at about 76 metres off the channel. But he didn't have a compass, so he actually watched another boat that was crossing, and he landed on a slope just inside England and was met by customs as a foreigner visiting English shores. And they didn't have a form for aircraft, so they used a visiting yacht form. Today, if you walk out of the castle and down through the castle car park and just stroll down the little path, there's a turning to the left which is signposted. Now, all these woods weren't present when Blériot landed. He landed in open fields, but this has been quite thickly forested since. Just along this path, normally with people sitting having a drink or walking their dogs, is a small memorial to Blériot. I wanted to come here for years because I've heard of Blériot, I've heard of his flyer. I must admit, I expected there'd be some quite grandiose monument. I knew it was next to Dover Castle, so I came down here. Well, in many ways, I was disappointed. It's a quiet grass bank in the middle of the woods with an outline of pavers, which gives you an idea of how small the plain is. And it's a pretty close approximation of the size. So he sat in a small wooden framed canvas covered plain, the size of that marking in the middle of the field, and he flew at 70 metres across the English Channel, La Manche as it would have been for him. I have to say, no small feat, quite a brave undertaking. But this is where his plane came to rest. And if you ever see the photos of him surrounded by crowds and particularly policemen, this is where he landed. And yes, not the most significant and important historic site. It didn't even make the cut for my video on Dover Castle because the Dover Castle video was more than long enough. But here it is, an important place in British and world aviation history. The spot where Louis Blériot landed his tiny flyer straight after crossing the channel for the first time. And it was only 30 years later that the Battle of Britain was fought over these skies by planes that had a lot less trouble crossing the channel. So hopefully you enjoyed this short video, a little trip to somewhere interesting and often forgotten from the travel itinerary. I can guarantee you, for the tens of thousands that visit Dover Castle every day, very few of them come down here to see where Louis Blériot landed. But it's a significant spot. If you like aviation history, then check out some of the videos on aviation museums, particularly the Fleet Air Arm Museum, RAF Hendon, the Spitfire and Hurricane Memorial Museum, and recently we went to RAF Manston. So check them out, like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next Saturday for history, and Museum Monday for a museum tour. And I'll leave you with the single piece of information on Blériot's achievement at this site. And you can see how different it looked in 1909.